Hey, what's up and welcome back to the Paradox Kingdom. So if you don't know, my name is Steven Hernandez and I like to talk about all things theology, checking out some debates, breaking down some difficult to understand or explain passages, seemingly contradictions from maybe atheists or Muslims, and also how to read and understand and enjoy reading the Bible. But today I wanted to talk about some notes that I took from a conversation with my good friend Jesse Delgado from Kingdom Creative. If you don't know or you haven't checked out Kingdom Creative, it's a great resource, YouTube channel and podcast and Facebook group that he has for those of us who are Christians, entrepreneurs, and creatives. So Jesse is a filmmaker and videographer just like myself, and he's really been a mentor with figuring out a lot of the business aspects of content creation and owning a business. So we were having a Zoom conversation and talking about knowing the will of God and what does that look like. Sometimes it can be difficult to discern, what am I supposed to do in this situation? Am I supposed to continue in this career, or am I supposed to change, or how does it fit in when I want to do my own and create my own content, but I also have to make money to survive? So one of the key passages that we talked about was from Romans chapter 12 verse 1 and 2. And we were talking about the idea that, especially here in America, is that if we are not thriving, then we think it's not the will of God. Which also leads to the idea that if things are not going good, then it's not God's will. But if things are going good, then God is with us. If things are not going good, then God must be against us, or he must have left us somehow. But I love one of the things that he said is that our circumstances are not a good measure or a way to determine if we're in God's will. So let me read Romans chapter 12, 1 and 2. Really, we're focusing on verse 2, but I'm going to read verse 1 for a little bit of context. This is Paul talking to the church in Rome. He says, "Therefore I exhort you, brothers and sisters, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a sacrifice, alive, holy, and pleasing to God, which is your reasonable service." Now, side note, I do have a whole sermon that I preach from this passage, which I will be sharing in the near future about what it means to be and to give your life as a sacrifice. But let's continue. Verse 2. "Do not be conformed to this present world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may be able to test and approve what is the will of God, what is good and well-pleasing and perfect." So the good thing is that Paul is saying that we can actually discern God's will. We can know and we have everything that we need to do so. But there is kind of a warning that Paul says. Don't be conformed to the present age. And the way that we do that is by renewing our mind. So we want to think about, how are we being conformed to this present world? One of the good things is to do is to take a step back, because when you're in your situation, you actually don't see the progress that you are making. If you're a business owner, or you're starting a YouTube channel, or you're doing something and you've been doing it for a while and things are not working, you might focus on the results only and not see all the progress that you have been making. So it's a good thing for you to take a step back and actually look and see, why is it not working? Maybe it's a strategy issue. So in particular, me and Jesse were talking about strategies. When I was in Austin, Texas, I had my video business and it was doing great. When I relocated, it wasn't doing as good. So I can think, oh, maybe I'm not supposed to be a videographer. Maybe I'm not supposed to be a content creator. Maybe I'm not supposed to do these things. And I didn't really get to see all the progress and all the amazing things that I was able to do. And all the open doors that God was opening, because I was looking at my certain circumstance and thinking, man, maybe this isn't working, it's time to get out. Instead of saying, maybe it's time for me to change my strategy. Maybe it's my strategy that's actually not working. When your situations change, sometimes your old strategies are not going to continue to work. To be transformed, you have to renew your mind. From your mind comes your emotions. From your emotions comes your activity. So first we think something, and then we feel a certain way about it, and then that leads to productivity or any kind of activity. If I start thinking about something and I feel good, then I start to have a good emotion about it. I start to get excited about it, and then I start doing something about it. But if I'm thinking about, let's say for my YouTube channel or my business or whatever it is in your life, you have a daunting experience and you're like, I'm gonna fail. That's your first thing. It starts out with your thoughts. then you start feeling these emotions of anxiety or worry or depression or fear of failure. And then you start to have no activity. You stop doing things that you should be doing. And you think this situation is too big. I might as well not start, because if I don't do this and I fail, at least it's because I didn't put my all into it. So you sabotage yourself. So what most people do is they like to complain about their situation. We can look on Facebook and social media and see people love to complain because it actually releases a chemical, but it actually gives us something that makes us feel better whenever we complain, instead of actually doing the hard work and think, how can I come up with a new strategy or a new way to accomplish the will that God has put in my heart? So some tips is that you should watch what you're saying and what you think. I made another video where I was talking about how you speak to yourself. The words that you use, the words that you're talking about yourself. Are you saying, oh man, I'm going to fail. I'm not good at nothing. No one listens to me. No one's going to buy my product. No one's going to come. No one's going to attend. Because then you are inevitably prophesying over your own life, and you're bringing all these negative things that you're going to start believing, because you start saying it. You start thinking it, you start feeling it, you do that, or you do the opposite, or you have no activity. Because you think, if no one's going to listen to me, why am I going to work on all these things? If no one's going to hear me, then why am I going to put in time in making sermons or making songs or creating videos or whatever it is that you're focusing on? If no one's going to listen to me, then why am I going to take time to become better? So you need to watch what you're saying and what you're thinking, because what you're saying and what you're thinking is driving your life. It's the steering wheel to what you're doing, and you need to evict those negative thoughts that you have. If you predetermine something in your mind, then when you ask for advice, you're not going to be able to hear it. You're praying, but you can't hear God because your voice is too loud. When we start speaking life over them, they start to see and realize, wow, I've been looking at this all wrong. I made this little problem so huge because I've been focusing on my problem. And what we have to do is start putting the problem in its place. Otherwise, like some of my other clients, I tell them certain things to do and they give me all the excuses and reasons, and they don't want to take the advice because they predetermine in their mind what's going to happen. They already made up in their mind they're going to fail. They already made up in their mind they're not going to continue. They're not going to grow. So they just want to give up. A great quote that Jesse said in this conversation is that your success is not dependent on the spirit, it's dependent on your activity. And this one actually cut pretty deep, because I thought that I was doing a lot of stuff. I was making video, and all the videos that I was creating was great quality. Everyone that's seen them loved them. But I wasn't doing the other activity that I didn't want to do. I was doing activity, but I wasn't doing the right activity. In Romans 12:2, it says that do not be conformed to the world. And it's actually you're conforming to the world is affecting you from doing God's will. It's negatively affecting you from doing what you were created to do in the first place. If you are working on a business, then you have to figure out what are non-income producing activities, and then you need to stop them. Check how much time you're spending on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. How much time are you on Netflix? And figure out, where is my time going? What are the things that I am doing with my time, even if it relieves some stress, but it's also a way to hide from what you need to tackle? What are those things that you need to stop? And also, what are the things that you need to start doing? Another great question to ask yourself are, what areas am I conforming to the world? In what areas do I need to renew my mind? What systems do I need to adopt? I know a lot of this is based on business and things like that, but you can take this and apply it to any part of your life. Let's say you're trying to learn a new spiritual discipline. That can be praying daily, or reading your Bible daily, or fasting weekly. It can be any of those things, but you want to take some of the same steps. You want to figure out, what are the lies that I'm believing? What are the things that I'm saying to myself? How am I feeling when I'm approaching these different things? For me, reading the Bible was something very daunting. I didn't read a complete book from cover to cover until I was actually in college. The book wasn't even that big. It was about 115 pages. Then fast forward that to about 3 or 4 years later when I went to seminary. And in 3 years, I had to read 60,000 pages, which is a couple of hundred books in 3 years, while learning 2 languages.
I read a 1,679 pages book within 2 seconds.
I had 30 classes, and each class we read about 4 to 7 books. While I took my class at Harvard Divinity, we read 12 books in 12 weeks.
I'm the fastest reader in the world.
So that's a very big difference, and I'm a slow reader, so it was very difficult for me to keep up with all my schoolwork and working 3 part-time jobs.
Wow.
You did what?
What is it?
What
It
just
was
happened?
fast, so you didn't know.
But a lot of the same tips that I'm giving you are the same things that I had to do in my own life for my business. I had to figure out the lie, and then I also had to come up with some systems. I had to figure out how not to just do it on my own, but how to work with God and fulfill the promise that He has on my life. It's not just God doing everything. He does give us free will. So there are things that we have to do. There's activities that we have to do. We have to give up. We have to push ourselves. So again, figure out what areas are you conforming to the world, and also working on renewing your mind. And those steps are going to help you to figure out what is the will of God for your life. Again, I didn't go very much in depth in what that looks like. I'm going to have another video that talks only about these passages in depth in that standpoint, but I just wanted to give you some of the great notes that I took from working with Jesse Delgado, and we're going to actually work on some podcasting on Christian entrepreneurship and what does it look like to actually use your creative gifts to glorify God. So if there's any encouragement that you got from this video, I ask that you would go ahead and like, subscribe, send this to someone that you think will actually help them. Maybe they're going through some things that are kind of conflicting and they're saying, man, I need to figure out what I need to do so I can get past what I'm currently dealing with. Also, if there's any questions or comments that you had, I would love to have a conversation, reach back out to you and dive a little bit deeper into these things. And until next time, peace.